everyone to the Murray City Municipal Council Committee of the Whole meeting, June 3rd, 2025. It looks like all council members are here except for Council Member Diane Turner. She will hopefully come later this evening. First thing we need to do is to approve the minutes of May 13th, 2025. Do I have a motion and a second for these minutes?
I move to approve the minutes of Committee of the Whole, May 13th, 2025.
I'll second.
Okay, any opposed? Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. The minutes are approved. Love my sidekicks. Okay, my first.
Guardrails.
Yeah, really, it's like bumper cars. Okay, first discussion item is number 1, discussion on an ordinance amending the city's fiscal year 2024-2025 budget. Brenda Moore.
Oh yeah, that's the right one. I have to make sure I'm in the right year.
You have 10 minutes.
It won't take 10 minutes.
Perfect.
But thanks for having me here. This is the fourth of my 4 budget amendments. Maybe next year I'll try for 3. Overall, the budget for 2024-25 looks good. Revenues are coming in on target and expenses are coming in on target or below. Just have a little bit of cleanup that we're doing. As you know, we went to the LA fire. So we received $229,845 in reimbursement for that. So this budget opening receives that money, allocates $213,769 to fire salaries, benefits, the travel expenses they had, and vehicle maintenance, some buildings and grounds maintenance. Some of that was not related to fire, the deployment, the buildings and ground, and the vehicle, but they had some big expenses, so we're using that money that came in on the rent of our fire engine to take care of those for them. And then we're gonna transfer $16,000 to the CIP fund, and on the other side, the CIP fund will receive it and put it into future fire equipment. So they help pay for some of their own fire equipment. In the general fund, we're gonna increase the donation revenue, $15,000 from Intermountain Health, and allocate it to the parks marketing expenses. This was for the help pay for the Love Murray campaign. So we have been spending it, and it's good. There's a lot of Love Murray stuff out there. In the general fund, we're also gonna increase the asset forfeiture revenue budget, $36,689, and allocate it for police equipment and new officer onboarding expenses. This is the first time I've ever done this because I found out that you can't receive asset forfeiture money and use it to supplant normal budget operations. It has to be for other stuff. It's the way the rules are written. I can't do anything about it, so I'm increasing the budget. And the police chief, has ideas on where to use this on some things that will be helpful to his people. Some of them, latest I heard was we're gonna tint some of the front windows of the vehicles. The new ones come in, the backs are all tinted. The front ones, keep it cooler in there, keep the computers cooler, which will help with equipment and stuff. So some of that stuff that we normally probably wouldn't do, he's handling this. We get this from the Metro DEA task force stuff, so it's drug money that's been run through the federal system. And then the last one, in the power fund, we're gonna receive $19,090,000 of bond proceeds, allocate $90,000 to the cost of bond issuance, and $3.6 million to infrastructure for the turbine rebuild, and the rest is going to reserves. It will be pulled out of reserves next year to do all of the projects that they're gonna work on next year. I don't know if you're thinking 90,000 is a whole lot of cost of issuance of the $19 million bond. The Public Works facility, which we went public sale. Its issuance for 20 million of bonds was $206,000. So 90,000, private placement is pretty good. It's cheaper to do. The rate is a teeny bit higher, but. So that is in the budget opening that will come before you with a public hearing on the 17th. Any questions?
Just one, is on the fire reimbursement, is that a normal percentage wise of how much we're able to put in the CIP when we do fires?
No, they usually put more,
Okay.
but they,
So that
it
seems
depends on how much they get in rent, but they had a garage door that needed to be fixed. So
Use money.
they used most of the money, it was probably more like $50,000 it would have been there. Rent on one engine for 2 weeks.
Is that like a set amount for each department, or are they given like, say, like dollars from FEMA and then they split it out depending on
No,
what
it's,
percentage?
we provide them with details of what it costs for the firefighters
Okay.
went, not in
So we
general.
bill them for.
We bill them,
what we use.
and
Okay.
what it costs to backfill those positions in overtime.
Okay.
Yeah, plus benefits and taxes and all that stuff, plus the the per diems to get down there, the food and gas and whatever to get there, they reimburse. And then they rent, depending on what equipment we take, we get rent. This was an actual fire engine, I believe, so its rent was a little bit more than when we just take our grass truck or whatever, wildland truck. So that's how they.
Okay.
So it's a big reimbursement paper,
I'm sure.
and the state helps and is run through the state, and then they collect and then they send it to us, so.
It's mine is a handling fee.
Actually, no,
Just
sometimes the state actually does great things for us.
Totally kidding.
Side
Any other questions? Okay, thank you.
Sorry I was late, but I'm here now.
I was just gonna say, and Councilmember Diane Turner has arrived. Welcome. Thank you. Okay, number 2, discussion on the council meeting schedule for 2025. Jennifer Kennedy presenting 10 minutes.
Okay, so when we did our calendar last year, I neglected to account for the fact that we would be having possibly a primary election this year. Not only that, but we are now going to be a vote center for that election, and we were not until a few weeks ago. So we need to adjust our August council calendar meeting schedule, if possible. So I gave you guys a short memo explaining everything, and then I gave you also a copy of red lines of the changes we need to make. So we'll just talk about them. And I can answer any questions. So on Tuesday, August 5th, we need to hold all of our meetings in the council chambers, both committee of the whole and council meeting, because they'll be using Poplar as voting in here, if that's okay with everyone. August 12th, we're going to cancel those meetings because it's the primary election day. On August 19th, we had a truth and taxation meeting, which I don't believe we're going to need anymore. So then what I would recommend is moving all of the rest of our meetings to August 26th, when we have to have a Board of Canvassers meeting anyway,
So no meeting on Tuesday, the 19th.
or the 12th. So the
Yeah,
meetings
or
in
the
August
12th.
will be, yeah, that has changed since the preliminary went out.
Oh, okay, so no more on the 19th. Okay, thank
Any
you.
questions on any of those? Okay, and Mayor, I wanna make sure you can be here on the 26th, because you're part of the.
Yes, thank you, yeah, thank you.
Okay, so we'll vote on that at the next council meeting, if there's any questions. And I also looked through, just so you know, at the rest of the year, I didn't see anything that needed to be changed, because I thought if we're changing August, we might as well just go through the rest of the calendar. I didn't see any other conflicts. So if you guys notice anything, let me know, otherwise we'll just make those changes for August.
Sounds good.
Can I ask Kim Sorensen a question
About
about
the
the 20?
August,
Yeah, August 26th or not, later?
sure. About the council meeting?
There was something planned with the movie theater on the 26th of August in the meeting that I have. Yeah. And so I'm sure I'll talk to him later. That's fine.
Is there anything August 26th, Cam, that we have with the theater that night?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, because we were talking about it in our meeting for the opening.
Okay.
And they were looking at August 26th, don't they? So-
Yeah, August 26th meetings really aren't an option because we have to have board of canvassers, that's the date we
Right.
have to canvass.
Okay. I will just tell them that tomorrow.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, perfect. Any questions for Jennifer? Okay, we are on to discussion on in-home daycare business. Zachary Smalley presenting, 15 minutes. Hi.
I'm gonna do just a brief preamble, if that's okay, just to kind of set up this issue. It's an interesting issue. The state, as you know, often makes changes. They say, cities, you shall revise your code to make this change. In this case, they've made a change. They said, cities, you may revise your code. We've had some folks that have expressed interest in increasing our numbers of allowable children for home daycare. As we did some initial research on that, we found that, and I'm gonna let Zach go through most of this, but we found that there was a pretty wide discrepancy between what different cities do surrounding us in their daycare numbers. And also, this was something I had experienced in a previous city with a request. We took it to the council early on before going through the entire planning commission process as a way to give the applicants some idea of what their future was for this type of amendment, this request. In that case, that other cities, the council said to us, yeah, we're not really interested in that. So in interest of trying to give some clarity to the applicant and so they'll have an opportunity to know kind of which direction the council's heading, so we don't spend time we don't need to if it's something that you don't necessarily want to go through. We wanted to talk about some of the pros and cons of increasing the numbers with you all. We'll go through that. That'll hopefully give some direction to us as staff and to the applicant. And with that, Zach will take it away.
Yeah, so just kind of bouncing off what Chad said, this is really kind of a vibe check, kind of how you're feeling about things. So really what we're looking at, there's lots of data out there that, childcare deserts and there's a lot of need for additional childcare throughout the country. I found this statistic today on Axios' website that says that it costs one toddler and one infant $24,000 a year for childcare. Yeah, so it's very expensive out there. So, like Chad said, I looked at some of the neighboring cities on what they allow. I'll try to explain this as best I can because this is just very rough ideas. So that P means it's allowed. So it's a permitted use in each city. If there's a C, it's for conditional. So, for example, Mill Creek allows up to 12 children. That includes their own children. So if they have 11 children, they can really only have one. So if it says including all, then it's obviously that. So, for example, West Jordan allows them to not be licensed whatsoever and do up to 4. However, if they are licensed, there's reference in there that it could be just following state code. So there's a wide range of what there is. There's not something where I can definitively say, absolutely we should not do this, and absolutely we should do this. So that's where we wanted to take, and that's where I kind of start every analysis on, is kind of what are other cities doing around us and elsewhere. So this is just, these numbers are only in-home preschools.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah. What's the difference between the categories?
That's a great question. I think it's just the level of impact.
Or is it the area or?
I don't think so. I
No
think it's
square
just the
footage,
impact.
no number of caregivers per child or?
And so number of caregivers per child is gonna be dictated by state law. We don't regulate that. But for example, that's probably what Sandy has, for example. So you have a certain number of regulations for a category 1 type facility versus a category 2, right? Because some cities do actually put in additional regulations for that type of stuff, and that doesn't stop Murray from doing some of that stuff as well. But as Chad had mentioned, we want to kind of get how you guys feel about it before we really start diving into, deep code revisions or, further research and things like that.
An example of a potential code that a city could adopt for a higher number of children in home daycare would be having some off-street parking. For the first 8, you might just say, hey, we'll live with what you've got a driveway, you've got streets around you, work it out so you have good drop-off and pick-up. Maybe when you get to 16 and 18, you go to a category 2, there's a conditional use. One of those potential conditions of the conditional use could be provide additional off-street parking or pick-up, drop-off areas to avoid impacts on neighbors. My experience within home daycare, of course, this is a needed service and supportive of this, but the number one complaint that you received is from neighbors concerned about pickup and drop-off and the impact on the parking, impact on circulation in the neighborhood, those kind of things. Number one complaint. There's others, but that's, occasionally you'll get some complaints about, kids playing outside and making noise. Usually it's that parking that you get the complaint. Parking and traffic.
Traffic, yeah.
So I just looked up the state code for Utah. If there's an infant 2 or under, it's only 3 children per caretaker.
Yep.
So if we go up to 16, we're talking potential, if they're all under 2, 6 caretakers.
So not necessarily, because we do have other code that doesn't allow. So for example, I think our in-home, our home occupation code only allows for, I think, only one other person to actually come to the home to work at an in-home.
So they'd be
Any
limited by
occupation.
state law anyway.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it would be, they could only accept a certain number of type of children. So, yeah, a certain
Age
age
group.
range, thank you,
Age group.
type, it's
And
fine, whatever.
We got it.
Sometimes though, there are
I
situations.
categorize-
Rowdy kids, no.
If there are situations where you'll have, for example, 2 caregivers living in the home, so they could add an additional one, right? So
Right.
you'll have mom and daughter, for example, that are caregivers, and they'll have one additional employee.
Correct.
So there are ways you can have.
But an additional potential car would be 1 additional potential car.
Correct,
That
yeah.
who's already living in the house.
So, I mean, this, I did this very quickly, but just kind of opportunities and risks. So some of the opportunities is greater availability for childcare in the community, local business development, potential for neighborhood connections if they're actually taking on children in their area. And then also, it allows for somebody to utilize their house outside of just, leaving for work and leaving all day long.
Are they limited by the hours of business?
So that's one thing that we could take into consideration as well. That's what I've seen in a few other cities, is that specific for daycares, they only allow them to go from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. Where right now, our home occupation code allows us to go pretty much 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. And we don't have a lot of restricted hours. But that is an opportunity that we could refine this a little bit more to be. That's one of the things we would take into consideration as we're drafting any proposed code. The person that had applied for this just asked for just a writ. What's the word I'm looking for? Just a carte blanche, move it up to 16. And we can come up and say, maybe they'll tweak this and then we'll move forward with it. So that's kind of where we're at right now, is that maybe tweak code change, so.
There's also the issue, in my mind, of safety for the children. If you only have 1 per 6 or,
8,
that
that's what it is.
puts up red flags
For
for
how old?
me all over the place.
One caretaker for every 8 children, with a maximum of 2 under the age of 2.
Yeah,
So
that's how.
If you get a
That's
third
crazy.
2-year-old
Okay.
or under,
Yeah.
then you have to have another caretaker. That's what I'm understanding from Michelle.
And we want to be clear, we're not necessarily against or for, we just want to acknowledge that
yeah,
there are impacts. We want to, and it's important to acknowledge that even though state law allows it, that doesn't mean we have to do it, because there are impacts. We don't want to pretend like there's not. I think one of those is the number, right? There is a certain amount of square footage per child required for these in-home daycares. That's set by state law. They have a certain number of square feet per child that's required. So, looking at the various zones, it might be that if we decide to go forward, that we say for these larger daycares, maybe they have to be in larger properties. Maybe that's just something that has to happen. So that's the kind of thing we would look at potentially. Like I said, it'd be interesting to see all of the conditions that Sandy includes, but it could be that like when you get between 16 to 18 or 12 to 18, that there are additional off-street parking spaces required.
Yeah.
So that's things if you want us to go forward, that's some things we'd probably propose as a way to mitigate some of those concerns.
And I think that's where we wanted to come and have this discussion with you beforehand, is that before we started writing and spend a lot of staff time drafting something, but we knowing ahead of time whether it's even something you want to really consider is something that would help us as staff kind of get better direction.
So okay, couple questions I have here. Just the process of this daycare, we're saying traffic is potentially a concern, but I imagine, and I don't know daycare, the daycare world,
I do.
so you might be able to, but I'm assuming that it's not one drop off and one time that they drop in and drop off. Like it's gonna be spread out over multiple hours.
Yeah.
So the traffic concern is we're looking at, if we go up to 16, it's 16 cars, 32 cars going up and down a street, spread over 10 hours. So it's a pretty minimal impact. Like I get that much.
Yeah, and typically what we do so right now we allow up to 12. I should have made that clear. Right now we allow 12. It would be called a major home occupation at that point. They have to get neighbor signatures. If they can't, they go to the planning commission. But typically with those, especially if they're going to the planning commission, we put in on there like a staggered, like pick up and drop off. Is required. And that would be something I think that if we do draft something, it would be good to put that in the code, like only, 4 cars per hour or something like that. I don't know.
Chad's
And I'm just throwing numbers
It's just
out
such a
there.
small number
Yeah,
that.
but you want a way to, to his point, where you can pick up and drop off the street, where you're not pulling up along the curb and dropping off your kids. I mean, that's dicey at best, unloading child seats and stuff like that.
The only thing, so I don't mean to keep muddying waters with with a bunch of different scenarios, but there was an instance where somebody applied for a business license for a daycare here, right, and wanted 12, and then you had another one here for 12,
Okay,
and then you had
That's a
another
good
one
point.
here for 8. So
that,
that
if we put 3 on one street, that could be a
For
traffic
sure.
impact.
and so that's where
That's
it
what you're
could kind of come in to be a problem.
Okay.
It'll have a larger impact on others, but again, there's ways for us to write in mitigation for that.
If we do go this direction, I'm hesitant. I know the natural inclination we have as a council is to go larger lots, go to the R18, R110. But my guess is most of our R110 residents don't use this. It's gonna be our RM15s is where it's gonna be hit. Like our first time home buyers are gonna need this more.
Yep.
So I'm hesitant to put a lot size in there, or we need to look at a way to mitigate traffic and on a smaller lot, cause I think most of them are gonna be, smaller lots are gonna utilize this more than a large lot.
Explain it to me, small lots are gonna utilize, so you're saying someone
'Cause I-
lives in an apartment per se, an RM25.
Well, I'm just thinking it's gonna be a lot of first time home buyers who are
Looking for
Yeah.
extra income?
looking for an extra income,
Oh, they're gonna,
trying to make it work, and that's where we're gonna get into some of these smaller lots where it's gonna be utilized more.
Yeah.
Like I'm just looking at our RM10. I don't think they're stretching their income.
so
in
could
most
someone
cases.
in an apartment do this?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Any permitted residential use is allowed to have a home occupation.
So a 40 unit apartment could have 40 daycares in there.
But I'm sure
I mean,
yes,
the
theory,
yeah.
apartment complex would have rules against that.
They
though. I
would,
mean,
yeah,
And
and we
HOAs.
do require
Yeah.
HOAs.
verification on that as well.
Permission, yeah, we'd have to have permission from the property owner for that.
Yeah, but
For sure.
what I'm saying here is now we've lost control of it, and if HOA says, whatever you want, we could have 40 daycares in one building.
You could, I mean, it's
I'm
very,
going
I
to
know,
the extreme,
I know,
right?
it is
You
the
are.
very hard extreme, yes.
HOAs
Yeah.
normally
I wanna
both-
understand the extremes, so I
Right.
can understand the middle.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
And yeah, I mean, there could technically, at some point, I think we would probably step in and say, probably at the 35th, and say, maybe that's too many.
But
Yeah,
H-
So we're already 35 of 40.
Right, no,
34 is the problem.
I'm just saying that's usually where we
How
come
long
in.
has this been on ordinance, this one here?
They moved it up to 12, in my time here, so at least in the past 7
It
years.
says 2017 on our notes.
That's probably when the whole.
That's when I went to from 8 to 12.
Oh, is that-
It was 2017.
Okay,
So it went from
Well, there
8
you
to
go.
12?
And
I swear it
HOA
was-
has a board.
Yeah.
And HOA boards, if they find out that they're being rented or any kind of business, they're shut down.
Yeah.
Both daughters had HOAs.
but I don't think it's out of our control, right? We can't control an HOA.
No, but the
but they still
HOA
have to
board
follow
does.
the city, even if the HOA,
The HOA
they still
board
have to follow
does.
city
They don't,
regulations as well.
and they,
It's allowed as a home occupation. These ones then.
Yeah, any,
So does the residents then pay business property tax or still pay resident property tax?
it would, because it's still their primary residence, so it would still be a residential property tax.
But that draws another question. What if I buy an apartment that has a business below and I own both of them? Can I pay?
That's a great question, I don't know taxes, I don't know how that's
I can
split.
see attorneys, you know, because they're sneaky little bunches. GL's over there pretend like he's not listening. He knows for a fact he's licking his chops there.
That was
But-
I don't know how taxing works when it comes to those types of things. I don't know how taxing works in nine out of 10
your
things,
mind just.
so.
In any
like a
case,
squirrel.
the person would have to live in that residence. So you couldn't-
Correct.
You couldn't have, two apartments, they live in one and they're having the other one as a daycare.
I
They
could have
to
a living
live.
room and a kitchen in there and daycare. I mean, I could make it work.
Well, I think
If I
it's
save-
unlikely.
Are you thinking of a
15,000
new
tax.
job for your
I'm just
wife?
thinking,
Yeah.
I just wanna think like the criminal, you know? I wanna think like someone's gonna break these rules. How are we gonna break
The
this?
thing that, I guess when I think about this, the thing I always come back to is we're talking about someone taking care of little kids. So
Correct.
it's gotta be someone that wants to do that. So I think that's gonna be somewhat self-limiting, right?
Yeah.
So,
Exactly.
And someone that has a daughter involved in daycare for her child, not all the children show up.
Mhm.
There's sickness, vacation, moving, parents are sick, or the child is out for a couple of weeks.
Correct.
So having 16,
That's why they sign up 20.
no,
I will say, this is something, I
They
didn't think this was
don't.
gonna be part of the
Anyways.
conversation today, so I didn't put it in the slides.
Yeah.
But this is a handout from Department of Health and Human
Yes.
Services.
That's- yeah,
Is that what you were looking at?
Yeah.
Yeah, so up to 8 between this ages, right? So you could have up to 5 between 2 and 12, 2 to 0 to 17 months, and 1 18 to 23, and it kind of goes all over the place. They dictate how many children and what ages there can be.
Okay.
So,
and this daycare is not like for morning session, and then those kids leave, and then they have an afternoon session, and
It
those
could.
kids.
It could, that's,
So there's like a rotation, something going on?
so is a preschool considered the same as a daycare?
in Murray's code, yes.
So you could have
We call it
64
all.
cars.
So we,
I'm just saying, you could have up to 64 cars. You have 16 kids in the morning, 16 kids in the afternoon, 2 trips each.
I will tell you, so here's an example that we dealt with with this just very recently. Now I can't, it's called Sound Beginnings. It's a music school that'll be going in off Vine Street as a home occupation. It's a major home occupation. She will be having 2 classes of 12. But one of the things that she specifically said is that there will be, the parents will stay there. So we did have to make sure that that parking was there, which she has a very large driveway. And that when we count that, we count the person that's driving. In that instance, we count the person that's driving and the child. So they can only have 6 students in there at one time. So we do check for those things, and we're watching what's going on, and we get a pretty good detailed plan
Yeah.
of what they're proposing.
Yeah, so let me just give you my vibe.
Yeah.
I'm a normal libertarian guy, right? Don't tell me what to do with my property. But I know there's crazies out there like me who would think about, ooh, how can we stretch this to make the most money out of this?
Yeah.
So that's my concern, that there are people like me out there. Yeah, I hope they're more normal.
And
That's my concern.
what there is always going to be there's always going to be bad actors in no matter what we do, right? But what we try to do is put in common sense regulations, and then we go after the ones that are breaking out of those. That's what's really important.
And the people that take care of kids, they're really good people. I'm sorry.
So how's the monitoring on this? I mean, I'm curious, I hardly hear anything
Yeah.
about this. Just curious enough, you're hearing lots of stuff that you have to go out and send someone out.
Business licensing takes care of it pretty. So they have to renew every single year, and I think they have to do it with the state every single year as well. So it is watched.
There's
Yeah.
fire inspections for these types of uses as well, so it's watched pretty closely. So that gives us a chance to, this is one of those that we can reevaluate every year.
Yeah.
And if it's not going well, we can, I think in some cases, some cities require a conditional use permit for it, that's an option. I don't think we do at this point, right? It's just
If it's over 8, yes.
it's over 8, we do, yeah, good. So that's another way that we have some additional regulatory authority.
And the square footage is regulated, right?
Per the state, yeah, it's 35
Right.
35 square feet per kid.
So we would be following the state if we go to
Well, they
16.
we would allow up to 16.
Okay.
But
And we would follow the state guidelines?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah, this is a may, not a shall, so we can decide if we want to or not
Right.
on
Okay.
16.
okay.
I'm hesitant. I'm hesitant on this one to go, especially if we're considering preschool in this, if preschool does a gathering with the parents, you're now adding 30 or 40 cars 2 times that day, on that street. And if it's if their graduation ceremony, you get the parents and the grandparents that
But
start showing
normally
up.
they have those kind of events are held at someplace else because of the
I know
of
that,
the bigness of the group. They'll have it at a park, or they'll have it at a museum. They will have it at another venue. They will not have it at the home.
the
'Cause
preschools
I've
in my
dealt-
district do have it at the home.
Well, you
That's,
never know.
I'm giving
Yeah.
a specific instance right now.
Oh.
As I'm bringing this up, of and if we went to 16, it's a lot. I don't know, I can be persuaded, but I'm hesitant.
Yeah, I have a hard time.
Can you, I don't know if this is allowed. Would it be possible to see one of these? Maybe talk to a neighbor? Is that
So
across the
technically,
line?
technically, it's not allowed in Murray right now. So technically, there shouldn't be anybody operating.
No, I mean, somebody that say for instance, somebody in my area that wants to go to 16, if there is one, I don't know.
I don't know how much they can or can't talk with an applicant.
Or not an
Outside.
applicant, but
Okay, somebody
Neighbors.
else just doing it. I mean, you can definitely reach out to
They can do their own
neighbors.
thing.
Yeah, you can do your own thing and talk to neighbors all you
We
want.
probably wouldn't
Yeah.
throw out a name and say go with them.
Yeah,
They're
for sure.
just you guys.
okay, so I just have to find one.
Yes,
Okay.
Yeah.
I can do
sure,
that.
if you just Google daycare.
But that's
So the
not
applicant
crossing the
does-
lines.
Sorry.
No, that's okay.
The applicant does have to talk to the neighbors before the application goes through.
So yeah, and they're called major home occupations. So yeah, they have 2 options. Either they have to go get their neighbor signatures,
Yeah,
and it goes all the way around.
that's for all businesses,
Yeah.
not just childcare. Like if you have a
Correct.
beauty salon
Yeah,
or anything
yeah.
like that, you have to do that.
Or if you're unable to get those signatures or unwilling, you can go to the planning commission.
So if we did go forward, here are my 2 things that I would say. Number 1, I think there needs to be at least a third on-site parking place for them, because if you're gonna get to 16, you're gonna need additional employees, and we don't want them on the street. You have to have another spot for at least that employee, plus the parents to pull in and out of a driveway.
Yeah.
And I would consider pulling off the planning commission option, if you're going up to 16, that you have to get the resident signatures.
I like that. I like that.
Because if your neighbors are all right with it, they can deal with the problems too.
Right.
What about no response from neighbors?
Well, you'd have to do a certain number of neighbors, like,
Yeah.
we would get like 30 neighbors, I'm just pulling a number out of my hat.
I'd like to have a large percentage of neighbors respond, either yay or nay. Because we get a lot of no responses.
Yeah.
And then we get people later on going, oh, I just, I got so much stuff in the mail, I didn't know what to do with it,
Well, so what we do, we don't send it out for them to respond. We actually make the applicant go out
Yeah.
and speak to
Okay.
their
And
neighbors.
then
I
they bring
will
a
say-
signed form?
Yeah, and then we verify those signatures against who owns the property.
Okay. Okay,
I will say the only problem with that,
Yeah.
there are instances where like a home is vacant, like it's for sale and vacant, or the person rents the home and they don't have a way to get in contact with the owner. There's like a rental layer. So that's something that we would probably have to work through. But there could be opportunities there.
But we'd still need that. I mean, I'd feel better. I mean, if somebody's trying to sell their house, now all of a sudden there's a bigger daycare next to it. I mean, they should be informed somehow.
Seems like a lot to me, I just had a,
Did you get the vibe then?
that's a lot of kids.
Kinda.
I'm still
It's a mixed vibe.
hesitant.
I just think there's lack of daycare for these women
That's a
and
good
men
point.
that have to
No,
work
I
more
know.
than two
Definite
jobs.
lack of.
And going to these
Those
big
kids need to be
daycare
safe.
factories, they're expensive. They are
Yep.
so
And you're
expensive.
right, this
Sure
would be
are.
less expensive.
So it sounds, maybe if I can kind of recap and just see if we're getting the vibe, it sounds like there is at least some interest in us
To at least
pursuing this.
Yeah, to at least
Coming with some-
consider.
Yeah.
I would
Yeah.
say
Recognition.
go forward.
Okay.
Yeah, move forward with it.
Thank you.
We know you don't have
Way to
anything
read
else
the room,
going on,
Chad.
so I mean, I'll give you something
We
to
we
do.
do have an active application, this is an application that was made by a citizen, so we do want to.
Touch base.
How many applications have we had to go up to 16? Is this the only one?
So this is an application for a text amendment.
Yeah.
So we don't get those very
How many
often.
call? If we had several calls, just an anomaly to get the call to go up to 16?
It
There's
says
been more
they-
than one,
yeah,
yeah, I think
there's
there's two or three.
Yeah, we've had a few this year.
Those come through our business license division.
And also, if the neighbors see a little daycare in their neighborhood, that's a big convenience for the mom and dad instead of traveling
Yeah.
15, 20, 30, 40 minutes away from their child because they work in Salt Lake City and they can't get to their kid, but they're close to their home, then
Yeah.
I just have a daughter that has daycare, that needs daycare, and I just feel that we can have daycares in the neighborhoods to help these parents out and getting closer to the daycare for them to drop them off and then get to work and then come back. And they don't have to drive someplace to pick their child up and then drive back to get home.
We have
So-
them, all we're doing is increasing from 12 to 16, that's
Yes.
the request, right?
That's it.
Okay.
That's all we're asked,
Yeah, we're
that's
not
all
adding
we're
any more.
doing. And
That seems like a lot to me, I just have a
But-
hard time with it.
Yeah, I wouldn't wish it on anybody, but. I mean,
But there
you
are,
can do it,
but there are women and there are men
you can do it.
that have to have these childcare
No, I
because
get
they
that.
are both
I get that.
working.
I don't have-
And to have it close to their home is an advantage for
Of
them.
course, of course.
And I don't, and my granddaughter is not at the daycare all the time because she's sick or mom's sick or dad's sick or whatever. That they're not, or on vacation or other reasons. I just feel that having a daycare close to a home is an advantage for both parents and the child. But that's my take on it.
We'll have some more
Yeah.
good robust
Yeah, well,
discussion in weeks to
Yeah,
come. Yep,
thank you.
Thanks.
Look around, do
Thanks.
some stuff. I'm just gonna continue sitting.
Hey. Okay, our next and final one is discussion on Murray City Center District 2 City Center Form-Based Code. Zachary Smallwood, you have 45 minutes.
Awesome. Yeah, so this has been, I didn't get it done in 6 months, but I got it done in 9. So, I still think that's really good for getting an entire zone rewritten. So yeah, this is the form-based code. Rezoning, so this is 2 things. It's rezoning, or it's enacting the form-based code as a text, and then rezoning all the properties that are in the MCCD to the form-based code. So it's a couple things. So affected area is everything in the MCCD except for 3 little parcels that are, apologize, let me get my laser pointer, just right here. They are currently in the commercial development zone. They were already future land use designated to go into the city center, so we just locked them in there anyway. Those, at least these 3 properties are owned by, or I guess these 4 properties are all owned by one group, and they were gonna plan on incorporating this anyway. So just add to it. So we started, what kind of brought forth the form-based code was a couple of things. It mentions it in the general plan numerous times up here on the screen. Initiative 1 for the city center district, best practices for implementation was a form-based code. And the general plan cites form-based districts in a lot of other ways as well. Additionally, in the downtown strategic plan that was adopted in May of last year, also had a recommendation of implementing a form-based code for the city center. A lot of what came from that was a lot of people cared about what the buildings were looking like and how they functioned with the area. So this was one of those recommendations to do that. So I'm pretty happy with this map. I think I did a good job. So this gives you a better idea of kind of where everything is incorporated. You can see in the blue marker, that's where we're sitting on the left-hand side. And then on the right-hand side is the old City Hall area. So everything in that red is kind of what's governed, will be governed by the form-based code if adopted.
Well, on the map, I'm
Sure.
confused. I thought we did not include the old City Hall site into the form-based code. Why is that now added?
That was added because we didn't want to leave remnants of the MCCD in the area. This does not affect the entitlements for the Triumph Group.
Okay.
So they still have an active application going through the system. So they will not be affected by this at all.
So they're
We thought-
grandfathered into the FCCD?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep, they're grandfathered into the MCCD. What we didn't want to have happen is leaving in effect the MCCD review committee and all those regulations for what in essence becomes 3 parcels. It just didn't make a lot of sense. It was a lot of overhead and things we would have to manage. So we looked at either, changing it to maybe like the CMU, which is what the old Best Buy site, point of 53rd, is currently zoned, or extending out this one. And we decided this would be probably more impactful, and have a better aesthetic and feel for the overall area. So,
Makes sense.
yes.
I always thought it was weird that we were just gonna have that one zone. It's like that one parcel that was its own zone.
Yeah. Yeah, we it was a very last minute thing that we decided to throw it in.
So this is something the council will have to approve, the addition of that to the form-based code?
It's included in
It's included in this request?
in that request, yes, it is included, and it was reviewed by the planning commission, everything, all your maps are updated in the form-based code
Okay.
with the appropriate stuff. It's placed in the Boulevard District. For those who know what the Boulevard District is, it allows up to 2 stories by right. You can go up to 5, 3. Technically you can go up to 3 by right. 5 if you step back, and I think 30 feet or so. So it's pretty much everything that lines State Street is that same Boulevard District.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Can't hear.
Okay.
Say again, sir?
We can't hear.
Oh, I'm sorry. We'll try to speak a little bit louder.
And yeah, I will also be giving this exact presentation in 2 weeks as well at the public hearing. So this is broken out into 9 chapters. I just broke this first into 5. So there's the place type, form district, use, street types, and building types. Form-based codes are very different in that they are not so much focused on the use that's going on, but the form of the building that's going there as more of a completed picture of what the whole downtown should look like. So I'm just gonna go through these very quickly. So form districts, we have I think 5 of them total. So the Civic Center, which is that purple right in the middle, kind of where we're sitting. Characteristics of that is more community gathering spaces, civic uses, and restaurant and recreation. It allows heights between 3 and 6. And yeah, so then there's the Boulevard District, which I kind of went over a little bit earlier. That's that orange right along State Street going up and down. Allows heights of 2 to 3, historic State Street character, vertical mixed uses, and active streetscapes. Then you have the neighborhood corridor form district, which is that green color along the top of the map. That's more neighborhood supportive businesses, residential focus, and horizontal mixed uses. Again, heights between 2 and 3. Then we have our transit neighborhood, form district. That's just a handful of parcels just down at the bottom of the map in that bluish color. That is for more office concentration, residential concentration, and vertical mixed use. This is the most intense of the area, mostly because this is closest to the Murray Central transit station. So heights varying between 4 and 8. And then we have residential transition, which is on the far right hand of your screen here. So that immediately abuts up against residential uses. So it's a step down in density from State Street, residential focus, and again allows heights of 2 to 3 stories. So uses, this is going to be a change in the way that we do uses in Murray. This is very common across almost every other city in the state. And where we're really just looking at them in a table format on what's permitted. There's the U, which is only allowed on upper floors, or there's an N for not permitted. So this is just an example of a couple of those. Again, this is not the main focus, where traditional Euclidean zoning is focused on use more than it is about the form or function of a building.
So hold on a second, I'm trying to understand the chart. So if I were to go to the Boulevard District, it tells me that residential are allowed only U, which is the upper stories only.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, and then I just follow that down. Now, hospitality is permitted
Yep.
and residential care is not permitted.
Correct.
Okay, perfect.
Yep.
So, thank you.
Awesome. Yeah, no problem. So street types. So every type, every street is a little bit different in the downtown area. State Street is going to be very different from 48th, and 48th is going to be very different from 5th Avenue. So they should have different treatments and should be treated very differently. So each one does talk a bit about what it looks like. So it talks about, general street types and street type standards, types of trees that go along, street trees that go there, width of sidewalks, things like that for each type of, streets. They said street a lot in there, so. Also, I'll go over a couple of these really quickly. These are the building types. So there are, I think, about 4 or 5 generic building types. There's general, which is going to make up most of the buildings in the form-based code. Which then each one has its own list of standards depending on what form district it's in. I don't remember who it was. I think it was Jake Pearson in the Planning Commission that suggested adding the colors, the form district colors to each of the things, and I think, I don't know why none of us have ever thought of that before in planning, but no form-based code has that, and I love this, just throwing that out there. There's also a limited bay building, so this is if you have roll-up doors, almost kind of like the armory, right? They have those bay doors, that would be more of a bay building. We also have row buildings, so this is gonna be more residential in nature, but it could have some commercial components as well. And then we have yard buildings that are kind of more your single-family residential lots. And these are only allowed in the residential transition form district, so that's why there's only one color that you can't really tell. And then lastly, I guess I should mention civic buildings. Not very many people should be building civic buildings except the city, but there are still standards for that. Yeah, right. Okay, then here's the remainder of the chapters: open space, landscaping, parking, signage, administration, and glossary. So open space, the main difference, so I want to get 2 things over here. Chapter 6, open space, and then 7 is landscaping. Open space, you can think of it as more like actual like parks, plazas, things like that. Not necessarily what's happening on an individual site, but thinking of open space as an actual like destination or a use of an area, right? Almost like a building type. It's just type of land use kind of. Landscaping is where we're actually talking about what's going on the site itself. So, buffering between neighboring uses, things of that nature. So over here on open space, we have a few different types. So we have pocket parks. So this is the build to zone. That's what BTZ stands for. So there's an open available space that you can construct your building or provide it a little bit of extra space. So this dictates, what can go in there, right? So permitted structures, you can have a monument or sculpture, water features, sage structures, planted areas, things like that. Then 2 other examples, you have a park example and a town square example that each have their own requirements as well. Excuse me. On the landscaping chapter, like I mentioned back in the streets area, each street has a type of tree. So I tried to find some pictures of the exact tree that's going there. So they're corresponding with the color they're bordered with the same color that the tree is. So you can see that red, eastern redbud along 5th Avenue, honey locust along State Street. That's already what exists on State Street, so should be pretty familiar. Then, like I said, landscaping, so side and rear landscape buffer requirements. Parking, this has been looked at pretty intensely, and we feel really good about where we're at. And
That
keeps
took
it.
some negotiating.
Yeah, it did, for sure. So, but I think we're at a good place.
Zach?
Yeah.
Back one slide on the landscaping requirement. You're gonna include things, because I'm assuming that's the edge of a parking lot type of landscaping. Are we gonna make sure that we don't end up with little islands of things that waste a ton of water because it's really hard to water, this little tiny strip of
Yes.
thing there?
Yeah, right here, so this is just a depiction of just
Yeah, it's just the idea popped in my mind.
But for sure. You'll be seeing in a few weeks an update to our landscaping requirements.
Okay.
So it's gonna be something that, yeah, will be addressed.
Thank you.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, parking, pretty standard. And then signage, which is, I apologize, this isn't a great picture. But
The
yeah,
signage is not very
the
good.
signage is not good on this side.
It's a little-
But this is largely dictated by federal law, you know, on place type and timing, things of that nature. So have things like wall signs, yeah, that stuff. Thought I had more slides on that one. Administration and glossary, this just really talks about how things go forward in how to get approvals, who's doing the reviews. It also addresses non-conforming structures. So that's one of the major things here is that if this zone gets adopted, this form-based code, nothing changes for the people that already exist. They're allowed to continue existing and operate just as they are, no problems. Yes,
But what if they wanted to restore that building?
correct. So if they want
What
to
are the
restore
triggers,
a
right?
historic structure,
Right.
they can restore the historic structure and leave it alone.
Okay,
If they want to add on to that historic structure, the addition has to meet the form-based code standards. So for example, I think what you're getting at is like the T-rows, right? So we didn't want, originally it said that everything had to come into conformance. I was like, well, wait, we don't want the T-rows, the new T-rows where the chapel is, to look like a brand new building right on the corner there. So we figured out a way to change that, so just the addition has to come into conformance, but on historic structures like that, they can stay to retain their historic character.
Okay.
So,
Then I'll add, on the Boulevard District, we do have his building material requirements, so it has a historical look along the
Yeah.
boulevard.
I didn't catch that.
for sure.
Okay.
But yeah, there are also ways to expand your nonconformity to certain degrees. So there's a lot of flexibility in this, but also allows for a lot of redevelopment as well. So, and then the last chapter is glossary. That's pretty self-explanatory. It's just filled with a lot of defined terms. So, findings here. So staff believes the proposed text amendments further the objectives of the general plan. And the amendments are in harmony with objective 11 of the land use and urban design element. And the amendments will allow and support context-sensitive quality mixed-use developments. And the Planning Commission held a public hearing on April 17th and voted 6-0 to recommend approval to the City Council. And then we have two very large recommendations. So I'm happy to take any questions you guys have.
Okay, I have some questions.
Yeah.
I don't know what page it's on. Anyways, it just says banners may be attached to banner arms on light standards between 16 feet and 23 feet in height. Are they going to attach their signs to the city's lights, street lights?
We only allow the city to
Okay,
post on our
so
streetlights.
the business will not be able to post on
Correct.
city. Okay,
If they have their own like internal lighting system that are
Okay.
up that high, they
Okay.
can post their own banners.
okay. And then xeriscaping. It says landscaping shall be provided along the entire frontage of the property to a minimum depth of 10 feet except the permitted driveway. Sprinkling system shall be installed, permanently maintained. So can they xeriscaping that access requirements?
I apologize. So what you're looking at
Yeah,
is part of the ordinance, and I should have made that a little clear as well.
okay.
So as part of this ordinance,
Uh-huh.
we're cleaning up anything that references the MCCD and
Okay.
changing it to the form-based code.
Okay,
So a lot of that is really just changing the name of something. That does not include that is exempted. I think that actually specifies that the form-based code is exempted from that,
okay,
because it has its own landscaping standards.
okay.
Yeah.
And then it said during the planning commission meeting, Commissioner Hacker asked what will become of the current MCCD review committee. And you said that the committee will have to be replaced with a new committee. Is that what you're looking at?
Correct.
And they will be over the form-based code?
Correct.
Or
Yep.
whoever
Yep.
is chosen? Okay, very good. All right. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
What kind of outreach did you do to citizens about the form-based code?
We did have an open house. I don't remember the exact date it was, but we did have a public open house. And then we did reach out to individual large property owners throughout the city. Our consultant had a subcontractor that actually did the MCCD strategic plan and kind of had a relationship there. And invited to meet with, I think you met with representatives from IMC, and I think the Wrights, there were,
That's what I was gonna.
Parsons Baker, I can't remember her first name. Wendy, yes, yeah, met with her, but we had sent out, invitations for that, for
And you tried to reach out to the other property owners?
Correct.
And that's just who you're able to get hold of?
Correct.
Yeah, one of the comments when you had that meeting with the planning commissioner says Commissioner Klinger and Mr. Barney had a discussion about the housing in his neighborhood and the impact of putting in an 8-story building.
Mhm.
And then Mr. Barney shared some neighborhood history and said the neighborhood was more residential in the past. And then Diane Powers asked if they could choose to include her property in the zone because it is historic. And Chair Richards indicated he didn't know. And she said she tries to keep it as historic as possible.
It's included in it.
Okay, all right. And then, of course, Mike Todd, owner, is having a problem with it because he said he owns many buildings on the east side and he feels blindsided by Murray City. And so, anyways, and then Susan Wright wasn't very happy with it. So, but you did say to Mr. Barney, he said that, yes, the property owner could put in an 8-story building, but staff is trying to work with them.
So
Concerns.
currently, as the code sits right now,
Yeah.
they can put in a 10-story building and about 130 feet, as it's done today. So this is actually reducing some of that,
Okay.
that height. And it's, yes, 8 is still tall. But again, it's been zoned for over a decade to allow 10 and nothing's been built. I don't think just by adopting this tomorrow, an 8-story building is gonna pop up. It's gonna take some time.
And we don't have to have an 8-story
No.
building,
That's
Right.
what the max.
We could-
Yeah.
but we could reduce that.
Well, the
We can
code would
make
allow.
that modification in the code.
In the
We
future,
want-
yes, yeah. Any other questions?
No, I just wanted to understand the comments from the citizens and how they felt.
Yep.
So would you just go over once more? What is the advantage of having this?
Yeah, so it allows for a more consistent look and feel for the entire downtown. You're not gonna get two wildly different types of buildings. You will get variation in looks and feel and architectural style, but you're not gonna get something that, you know, a lot of what we heard is people didn't like the look of Home 2 Suites. And that is a very flat building, right? The form-based code wouldn't allow that. It would require certain articulation. This requires, you know, vertical delineation, horizontal push and pull, things of that nature. So this really focuses on the look and feel of the district, where we already had a very loose use list for the form-based, or for the MCCD. So this is actually just kind of putting more guardrails on what the look and feel of the district should be.
So it doesn't just leave it up to whim or,
No.
someone's fancy. They have to,
Cheap design.
they have to, right, they have to
Cookie
follow
cutter.
this and
Yeah,
that's-
they have to follow it. There's gonna be a lot more context sensitivity towards everything, I think.
Yeah, at one point I went over this with a fine tooth comb, so I was good. Yeah, so, I mean, there's a lot to it, but it really will make sure that the development, that we do have control over the development and it fits our vision, so I think that's important.
Yeah, 100%.
Can I offer up one more thing? I know there's a lot of members of the public here tonight. With this, of course, this meeting's primarily for the council. This is a
Yeah.
work session. We'll be
Yeah,
coming back
right.
to you at your next meeting for adoption. We would be more than happy to meet with anybody that would like to come, talk with us individually about the code, go through it. One thing that should be mentioned that you all know is that you've had several opportunities now to look at the code yourselves through work session meetings. We've had a couple of members of the council that are on the steering committee, thank you. I want to say task force.
We're not the only
Steering
one
committee.
that forgets me.
Steering committee. That you know, a couple of our members have had some very detailed meetings with the consultant as well. So we'd love to have that opportunity to talk in detail if there are detailed questions outside of this meeting, and happy to take those calls and meet with people between now and the hearing. So,
Do we know when this is going to be presented in the council meeting?
2 weeks.
Scheduled for the 17th,
Oh,
yeah.
thank you, okay. Okay,
And it's also sustainably responsible, and I think that's really important. Has those features as well, so for me, that's very important for my constituents.
Awesome, thanks.
thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, if there's no other questions, I will adjourn this meeting. Thank you.
So if you guys leave this with me, I'll send it home with you again if you wanna keep it. Then you will be getting another copy.
This is it.
She has spoken.
All right, I'm going to call this meeting of the Municipal Building Authority to order. We have all board members present, as well as the mayor, GL, Brooke, and Jennifer. Our first matter of business is to approve the minutes of January 7th, 2020, January 7th, 2025. Do I have any adjustments or corrections to the minutes?
No?
And I will entertain a motion.
I move to approve the minutes for the Municipal Building Authority meeting for January 7th, 2025.
I second.
I've got a motion from Councilmember Cotter and a second from Councilmember Pickett. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And opposed, if there be any. So this is going to be a long meeting because we have Brenda Moore presenting, and she's known for her long-wittedness. So our first matter of business is to consider a resolution adopting the tentative budget of the Municipal Building Authority of Murray City as amended for the fiscal year beginning July 1st, 2025, and ending June 30th, 2026, giving notice and scheduling a public hearing to receive public comment before the final budget is adopted. Brenda?
So we'll go through this whole budget line by line, thanks to. So the highlights, they're receiving rent, which is actually debt service payment, from other funds for $3.1 million, allocating $16 million towards the Public Works project, and paying debt service of $3.1 million. You notice those two numbers match. This is their entire budget. They're right now, all they're doing is the Public Works project and receiving and paying the debt payments. And then this is their debt, if you wanted to know how much was City Hall, is $1.8 million, and the Public Works facility, which we're not even in yet, but we have the money waiting to build, is 1.2. I didn't want to sit and pay interest when we have money to make debt payments while they are building that. It was just borrow money to pay money was not a really good idea. So that is the budget. You're just here to approve the tentative and then set that public hearing date. And then on the 17th, which would be the 17th, we'll have a public hearing and pass the final budget. Any questions?
Any questions from the council? Okay. Thank you, Brenda. No questions, and I'll entertain a motion.
Yep. I make a motion that we adopt the Municipal Budget Authority budget for 2025-2026 as stated.
Okay. I've got a motion from Councilmember Pickett.
I'll second.
And a second from Councilmember Goodman. Brooke, will you call the roll?
Mr. Pickett?
Aye.
Ms. Cotter?
Aye.
Mr. Goodman?
Aye.
Ms. Turner?
Aye.
Mr. Hawk?
Aye. And it passes on a 5-0 vote. With no other business items, I will adjourn this meeting. All that.
All right, it's 6:30 p.m. Welcome to the Murray City Municipal City Council meeting. I call this meeting to order. We are going to get started by having the Pledge of Allegiance, and I've asked one of the best-looking girls in Murray to come lead us in that, my beautiful daughter, Andrea. So please step forward and lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you.
Serving the mission.
Please repeat after me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Just a side note, she just got her mission call to Argentina, Tucumán mission, which happens to be my hometown in Argentina. So I'm very excited for my baby daughter to go my hometown for 18 months. All right, back to city council business. We have the approval of minutes. Are there any changes for the council meetings for May 6th or May 13th? If there are none, I will entertain a motion for both of them.
I move to approve the council minutes for May 6th and May 13th, 2025.
I'll second.
There's been a motion and a second. Brooke?
Ms. Cotter?
Aye.
Mr. Goodman?
Aye.
Ms. Turner?
Aye.
Mr. Hawk?
Aye.
Mr. Pickett?
Aye. Thank you. The council minutes are approved. Okay, now we have the wonderful moment of citizen comments. Any citizen who's attended today who would like to come up and make some comments, you'll have 3 minutes. You'll just step up to the microphone, state your name, your city of residence, and then fill out the required form. And Jennifer will keep the minutes over here. She'll tell you when they're up. Okay, thank you.
My name is Michelle Kruger. I live on 13th East. My duplex on 13th East touches Woodstock Elementary. We share the property line, okay? Christmas came early last fall. In September, a Murray City worker knocked on our door and wanted to know if we wanted cement put in our drive strip. I just wanted to come and say Christmas came early. I have struggled and struggled. I love to garden, and taking care of that, it has been really hard. And to have it all cemented in so that the kids are walking on the sidewalk instead of my lawn, not that they can't walk on my lawn, but I'm just saying thank you. It meant a lot to me, and I appreciate it.
Thank you. That's very kind. Yeah. Yeah. Can we have more of those?
Hi, I'm Karen Summerhays. I am from the Murray Senior Center. I serve on the advisory board and the Heritage Center board. And I just wanted to come today and tell you guys, if you haven't spent time at the Senior Center, you need to go. It is the most vibrant, energetic, happy place you've ever been. I joined the Senior Center and went to the walking club. And that led to yoga and meditation and overall fitness and quilting, which, by the way, our group is doing a quilt for Murray City. And there's art classes, piano lessons, chess. I mean, it's just unbelievable what our senior center does. And the staff and everybody on the boards were so conscious of our budgets and trying to meet the needs of the seniors, who many don't have very much money, and stay within their strengths of the budget that you allow us. So anytime you can throw more money our way, please do it, because it's a great facility, and I just want to say thank you.
Thank you.
Seems like a great lead-in. Thank you. My name is Marshall Smith, and I am the president of a condominium association in Murray. And a few months ago, we had some dog problems, serious dog problems. So I said the best way to counteract it is to talk to the animal control, call Murray Animal Control. Salt Lake County represents you. And I have to say they do a fabulous job. And we arranged a meeting for the board, and then I said, let's do it for everybody. So they came down and did a great presentation to go through the laws and what we can do and can't do. They even brought a staff. We got over 20 licenses filled out because they brought 2 extra people. And for 2 hours, they did licenses and explanations. So that was great. However, at the end of the meeting, toward the end of the meeting, at the question and answer, a couple of the residents spoke up and they said, why does Murray charge us every year for our license if we're a senior? And Sergeant Fett said, well, that's up to them to decide. They can do whatever they want. But he said, why? He said, well, and she said, well, I'm from Cottonwood Heights. Another one said they were from Sandy. And a few of them said, well, it's a one-time fee for a senior if you have your dog. And speaking on saving money for seniors, I just did a little research, and I want you guys to consider it. I have several cities here that have a reduced rate or a senior one-time. Yes, the rabies shots have to be verified. But I can just leave this with you, but I just went to the internet, went to animal control and looked them up. So it's just something for you to consider as a benefit for the city and the senior community. And by the way, they do pickleball at the senior center, and I didn't hear her say that, so yeah. So a good thing for pickleball. So can I leave this with someone? And I'll leave it with. Thank you.
The person that got that has to fulfill.
Yeah.
Look at Diane, she's giving it to Jared.
All in favor, say aye. So let it be written.
Thank you, Marshall.
Any other public comments? All right, I will close the public comments. Thank you for those that came and spoke. I love hearing from our citizens out there. Moving on then, we have a special presentation. Mayor, you have a presentation?
Emily, will you come up, please? Oh, and you too, Brenda, sorry. You know I was set up to do that because Emily, look at Emily coming up. She loves to be recognized. And she says, please say my name, so I always have to say her name, but you know that's not true, Emily. Okay, I just want to congratulate our finance department for the 45th year. We think it's been 45 years they have received the Financial Reporting Achievement Award. And they just don't give them away. And it's because of our great leadership here. Emily's been involved this year with doing the budget and has done a great job. So anyway, we just want to thank Brenda and Emily and your staff for all they've done to achieve this. And honestly, it's a wonderful thing. I don't know which has been longer, Tree USA or our Financial Achievement Award, but we've certainly had a lot of years to be blessed with this. So congratulations to our finance department, and thank you for all you do.
Thank you. All right, we'll wait for the mayor to get back because the mayor is next on the agenda also. Mayor Hales, you're on now. You're presenting the consent agenda.
Thank you. Now, I asked Brenda if she wanted to say anything, and she goes, oh, no, I've never heard her say that before. So she really did not want to say anything. I think it's because she's up here all the time. So anyway, congratulations again on that. Okay, we're here to present a confirmation of the mayor's appointment of Daniel Cody Giles. Daniel, would you please stand for us? Thank you. How are you, Daniel? Daniel, we've asked him to serve on the library board for a term beginning July 1st, 2025 through June 30th, 2028. Do you want me to read the other one and then do them together? Is that okay? Okay. And then next, Kate, are you here? Kate Hope. Will you please stand for just a minute? Thank you. It's Kate, and we've asked Kate to serve on our library board from a term beginning July 1st, 2025 to June 30th, 2028. And just let you know, we are so blessed to have volunteers, like all of them, but these two, our newest volunteers, are so willing and want to make a difference for Murray City. So we are grateful for these volunteers. And so today I would present these names to you and ask for a confirmation.
Thank you, Mayor. Council? I think we can take them both together, can't we?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I'll second it.
Okay. Brooke?
Ms. Cotter?
Aye.
Mr. Goodman?
Aye.
Ms. Turner?
Aye.
Mr. Hawk?
Aye.
Mr. Pickett?
Aye.
Thank you, and thanks again and you guys can leave or you can stay. A 3-hour meeting, but you're welcome to stay, so.
They're out of here. Awesome. Thank you, Mayor. It's always great to see our citizens' appointment to the different boards in the city to help support the city. We have public hearing next. We're going to be listening from the staff and public and those who want to give comments prior to our council action on the budget and monies. Is the same rule as before, 3 minutes? Okay, so you have 3 minutes to step up and state anything you'd like to state about the upcoming vote on the budgets. The first one is going to be an ordinance adopting the transfer of monies from enterprise funds to other city funds. Brenda? And then this, okay.
We're here because of Utah State Code 106-135. If we're going to transfer monies from our enterprise funds to the general fund, we have to have a public hearing, not only talking about that, but talking about administrative cost allocations. So the transfer is a calculation based on a percentage of enterprise fund user fee revenue. It's a return on investments from the Murray City shareholders, which are also our citizens, that it's a return on investment to the general fund so that we don't have to have as big of property tax increase or property tax levy as we could otherwise need. Contributions contributes approximately 8% of the general fund revenue, or $5.24 million. The administrative cost allocation is based on the fact that the general fund, the attorney, the finance department, provide services to the enterprise funds, and that allocation is done. The transfers to the general fund, the definition of movement of cash or other resources from one fund to another. The key in this is that there's no there's no contract, there's no service being rendered. We do pay for power, but that is a service that we are paying for, so that's not included in this. This is just a transfer of money from the enterprise funds to the general fund. Purpose is a return on investment. The methodology has not changed in many years. It's calculated on 8% of budgeted operating revenue, not all revenues, in the water, wastewater, and power fund. The others do not do transfers. This is just a little chart of what the user fee revenue is for water, wastewater, and power. And then the chart shows the little orange slice is how much of that is being sent to the general fund. And then in the general fund, where this comes from is that $5.2 million, or 8%. If we did not do transfers, it would require a 39.8% property tax increase to cover the costs that are coming in.
just in case this state legislature ever says they're gonna do away with it. There is some, if stopped, the transfer of property tax, part of the transfer is that tax exempt, property tax exempt businesses or charities or the hospital or do not pay property tax. So if we ever did have to stop this, all of that financial burden would go to citizens, residences, and businesses. A third of our property within Murray City, this, I haven't verified this recently, is tax exempt. That includes the property that we own that's tax exempt. Administrative services allocation. The legislature requires that I give you a cost breakdown of this because we do transfers and how the enterprise fund is being charged to cover our administrative and overhead costs. This is supported by a cost study performed in 2012. You say, well, that's 13 years old, but if you know anything about government, we don't change much. So a few things have been added, it's been simplified, but it's still valid. The departments that get allocated are the council, the mayor, the finance department, utility billing, human resources, city attorney, city treasurer, recorder's office, IT, and GIS. And facilities department has been added, and it's allocated based on the number of facilities that they manage for the enterprise funds. So this is the whole cost of those departments there. The city council, like 40% will get allocated to other funds. And then if you look at the second column, the general fund keeps 54% of their costs, and then the rest get allocated based on those percentages. That's just how the percentage worked out. The RDA, should be noted that they are limited based on how much increment we are getting, and so that has dropped substantially. It's now only 0.7. It only covers a very small portion, 11% of the ComDev admin fees. So used to be 50%, now it's less. And then that's just a chart on who gets allocated what by percentage. And any questions?
It might be a silly question. Where does the 8% come from? Does that come from that study?
No, it was just, it was kind of settled on. So at one point, it was power was only 6%, and then the others were 8%. And I don't know, it's been that way since I got here in 2011.
Okay. That's just
So-
what works. Right?
Yeah, and we don't want to play with it. We don't play with it because some cities were using it so they would up that or lower it based on how much money they needed in their general
Right.
fund. We don't do that.
Okay.
We get the
That was my
8%
worry.
and then we figure out how to cut spending or do whatever we need.
Okay.
Yeah, that got the legislature really upset when they were doing that to balance their.
Okay. That's
Their
awesome.
funds.
Thank you.
All right, if there are no more questions from the council, we'll open now to a public hearing concerning the enterprise fund transfers. 3 minutes. State your name, your city, and register with Patty. Seeing there's no public comment, I will close the public comment on this issue. And I will turn to the council. Any comments, any questions, anything else you'd like to add? Then I'll entertain a motion.
Public hearing.
I move to approve an ordinance adopting the transfer of monies from enterprise funds to other city funds.
I'll second.
Okay, Burke?
Ms. Cutter?
Aye.
Mr. Goodman?
Aye.
Ms. Turner?
Aye.
Mr. Hawk?
Aye.
Mr. Pickett?
Aye. Thank you. The enterprise fund transfer is approved. Thank you. We'll go to business item number 2, public hearing number 2. And once again, Brenda will be presenting on us on the budget compensation increases for next fiscal year.
I would rather not have to do this because I really hate just plastering my salary up on the board, but the state, why we are here, state legislature passed a law that says if we're going to increase the salaries of key employees within the city, I think they actually started off wanting mayors and councils, and then mayor and council is not anywhere in here. It's just the attorneys and the leadership of the city, staff. It requires a public hearing on the compensation increases. We have put everybody on this chart that the city attorney has deemed was appropriate, and pay increases have always been discussed as part of the budget process and existing public hearing. They have just now said we have to do it. The city employees, everyone except for the mayor, council, judge, and chief administrative officer are on a step plan. Same with all of the, and our job descriptions and pay charts are located on the website. The step plan details positions are assigned a step range. The step range is divided in 12 increments. The merits are 5% in steps 0 through 5, 2.5 in steps 6 through 12, and then after that you get the cost of living adjustments. Range adjusts with cost of living, annual market comparisons are done, and biannual adjustments, the wage scale adjusted for job description changes, and employees move to the next step at their anniversary date. There are some advantages to these. We've talked about them before. It reduces bias, there's budget clarity, rewards employees for years of service, transparent, very predictable, and employees know what raises to expect. The increases on this chart, all employees are receiving a 2.5% cost of living adjustment, including the council and mayor. All employees receive the appropriate step increases on their next step dates, and some employees received a market adjustment. This is the big chart. If you want to take a quick look, it's actually on the website, so you can study it all you want. And these are all the people and their wages and what they will end up. My wage won't be this high until next June, just so you know, because that's when my step takes place. So, any questions?
I have one. When I was looking at the chart, what is redlined?
That means that you are at step 12. So
Okay.
you only get the COLAs after that, or when the whole range adjusts. So you're at the very top of your scale. And that is designed to be above market. So you are being paid market. You should be competitive. It should be really easy for you to go find a job that's going to pay more, unless you're an attorney and go work private practice and never sleep and, you know. But other than that,
No, he doesn't.
you're welcome.
All right, thank you, Brenda. We'll,
I have, sorry.
you have a
I was-
question?
How do the reviews affect the step process?
If you don't get a 2.5 on your review, although most directors don't get reviewed, but the mayor, we serve at his will, so. But if you don't get, there's a 1 to 5 point scale, and if you're not at least above a 2.5
Okay.
on the point scale, you don't get a step.
Okay,
And I have had employees that I have not given a step. So it is merit-based.
okay, great, thank you.
All right, thank you. We will now proceed to the public hearing portion on the 2025-2026 budget compensation increases. Public, you have 3 minutes to make a comment, name, city, and register. Seeing there are no public comments, I now close the public comments. Council, are there any questions or comments you'd like to make?
I'll make a motion.
I will entertain a motion if there are no questions or comments.
Okay. I would like to make a motion to adopt the ordinance approving and adopting compensation increases for the executive municipal officers of the city for fiscal year 25-26.
I'll second.
Thank you. Brooke?
Ms. Cotter?
Aye.
Mr. Goodman?
Aye.
Ms. Turner? Mr. Hawk?
Aye.
Mr. Pickett?
Aye. All right, this budget compensation has passed. Moving on to budget hearing number 3. Brenda presenting the budget agency finance administration. Okay. The tentative budget, right?
Right, this is a public hearing on the tentative budget.
Okay.
I'll go through this kind of fast. You guys have all seen it before, multiple times. So the general fund budget is balanced with no use of reserves, using 4.7 million in .2 tax. There is a 5% property tax increase included in here. You'll be happy to know the average cost of a home in Murray is now $602,900, according to this county assessor. Employees receive a 2.5% COLA. The STEP program increases in health insurance, which added up to 0.25%. Budget includes 3 full-time employees, a police lieutenant, a wastewater tech, and an arborist. 85% positions pay ranges were increased to be within 5% of the average market, affecting 162 employees. So just very quickly, the internal service funds are using fund balance on purpose to lower them down. It saves money in the other funds. The library fund is still saving for their new library or remodel, depending on how that works out in the future. The Municipal Building Authority, we just talked about them. The RDA, we will talk about in the next meeting, the RDA meeting. The water fund, I added a column on here for you guys. We are using reserves in almost all of the enterprise funds, but if you look at what the reserves are without their capital projects, or not what the reserves, but what their expenses are. So the water fund has $2 million, that's revenue minus expense, so that they have $2 million to go towards their $3 million in projects that they're going to do. Wastewater fund is 1.3. Power fund, it was negative at one point a couple years ago. Now it's 2.8 million. Solid waste, they are using down reserves. We know that that's on purpose. They don't have any capital. Their reserves are higher than we would like, and we're kind of waiting for Transjordan to get everything settled before we decide if we're going to have to do a rate increase. The stormwater fund is positive by 900,000. That's a little low. They have some huge projects out there, but they're working on their master plan, and it's probably going to come before you in the next few months. General fund summary, the way it sits right now, it's balanced we'll end up with $16 million in reserves at the end. The property tax increase, $618,387 of revenue. The property tax will help pay for the police lieutenant and the renting of the Murray Theater, which is now a full year budget for that. It's about $900,000, or 0.9 million. Sales tax revenue is budgeted at 2024, actual less 1%. I'm still thinking there's going to be a recession. It still doesn't happen, but this helps us control our costs. Personnel and costs increased 4%, or 1.5 million. Operations, we did a really good job. It decreased 4%, or $472,000. This is just where it's coming from. You've seen this before. And then where it's going, police and fire take the majority, public works, salaries take another one, general government, parks and rec, and then debt, ComDev, and that is all I have. Oh, the CIP fund, we've run through all of these before. These are all the one-time money projects. Some of the good ones are the solar lighting on the Jordan River Parkway, streets projects, $3.4 million in streets projects. That's about all they can manage in a year. Maintenance on current buildings so that we can keep them up. Total projects in the CIP fund is $18,583,000. And that is it. Any questions?
Brenda, I'm wondering if we don't have the 5% increase, property tax increase, how would that impact the city? How would it impact our budgeting? And I'm wondering if we really need to do that this year.
So if we didn't have a property tax increase, I actually have always done this analysis whenever we were going to do a truth in taxation. So actually, you'll like this. I have a presentation on what we would do. Because I had it
You are
prepared
awesome.
for the truth in taxation meeting, because whenever you're going to go there and do truth in taxation, what are you going to do if you guys say no? So, what would we do? That we have two choices. They're fairly simple choices. Doesn't involve a huge budget cut or anything. One is to increase the .2 sales tax budget. That .2 does go away in 2030, and we are using it for capital. That's why we can do all that stuff in the capital projects. I have projected that it will probably make $5.2 million next year. We have only used 4.7 of it, so we have about 510,000. If you know the property tax increase was 618,000. So we have some float in there. I haven't seen the growth numbers yet. I'll get them next week from the property tax growth numbers. So if we got a 1% property tax growth, we would need to use 494,000 of that extra revenue right there. 1.5%, 2%, I can't even imagine us getting a 3%, 4%, or 5% growth. It doesn't happen in Murray. We don't have that much empty property. So that's one way we could do it. The other way is we just say, hey, we're just going to use reserves to cover it. Worst case scenario, it'd be $618,000, and our reserves would still sit at 25% of revenue. That would be the absolute worst case. We are going to have at least 1% growth, would be my guess.
We still would have at least 25% in reserves.
Yeah, you would have 15,000,004 as opposed to 16,000,002. So it's a decent amount of reserves.
Would it seem to you that we're just kicking the can down the road? Is that a concern?
Not a huge concern, because it's a very small amount of money. If you're talking about the growth figure that we would have had to do, probably would have ended up being a 3% tax, property tax, 3 or 4. It's not, I wouldn't be worried about it at all. In fact, I think I said in the committee of the whole when we were chatting about this in our, with the departments, that I'm fine either way doing a property tax increase. We can wait a year, see what happens. It will be fine.
I think that would mean a lot to our citizens, and we've raised so much in fees and anyway, so thank you for that information.
May I say something?
Mayor? Yes.
I'm fully in agreement with this, so just so you know, Brenda came to me and with the numbers that they were, and it was so little compared to what, and I thought if we're going to kick this down the road, then I don't agree with that.
Right.
But since Brenda has assured me that that's not the case and we have the funds to do that, then I would absolutely say let's do no tax increase from the administration side.
Oh, that's awesome.
Okay, any other questions?
Thank you, Brenda. We will now open the public hearing portion for the proposed budget. 3 minutes, name, city, register. Anyone? Anyone? Seeing that there's no public comment, I will close the public comment section of this. And we will not be voting on this tonight. We're going to do our customary thing to wait until the next meeting to vote on this. This will give Brenda a chance to get those numbers, final numbers. All right, thank you.
In order to amend In order to amend this, to eliminate the property tax increase, what do we need, what's the procedure?
I'll ask Mr. Hawk on that.
Just tell Brenda you want to do that. This is what you want to do. You should bring that back the next time.
Is this, I think our first thing is this the direction as a council we want to give her?
Yeah.
Is we don't want to have a property tax increase. Okay, so then,
I have a clear mandate from my people that if we're going to do a high increase next year because we do nothing this year, they don't want that. They'd rather have 2 small increases. That, they're very clear on that, so.
and from Brenda's comment, it seems like we can't predict the future, but if it holds it stable, that's not going to be the case next year.
Yeah.
So then, so would you amend it for the June
So
17th?
do you have a preference on which one of those two options I do? Do you want to just show the use of reserves?
If you don't have to use reserves, I'd prefer you not.
Okay. Anybody else have a preference?
No, but I like Diane's comments about, we already raised our water, our sewer, storm, power. I think we need to give the citizens and the businesses a little bit of a break this year. And I think with this in your hands, you'll come back to us with a really firm recommendation, and that's why we leave it in your hands.
Okay, so
I think she's looking for an option, though. What was option one?
using
Option
the
one.
sales tax, the .2 tax, and that's what Diane would prefer? Okay.
So if we do option 1, what does that do for the point 2? As we're trying to prepare for getting rid of it, is it keep us stable? Are we weaning off of it?
Yeah, we're just keeping stable. It's not making the problem any worse. It's also not making it any better. But we did cut a bunch of operations. Operations is probably the only place we can cut, so.
If we did option 2, does it?
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't-
It all
it's
ends up,
neutral, same way?
truthfully, it ends
Okay.
up the same at the end of the year. I just feel better about, it'd be better if you not show.
I'm just concerned that we're building up for our .2 drop-off. It's a cliff coming up ahead, and if we're not gaining even small amounts now, we're going to be gasping at the last minute going, sorry, people, we have to raise taxes 30%. I'm just very afraid of that.
We've done that before, and we don't ever want to do that again. So, I mean, it was even higher.
But based upon what Brenda just said, it's neutral. It's neutral. Either way, option we're going, it's not changing what we're doing with point 2, 4 or better. It's the same, right? Am I articulating that?
Well,
You
if we do
are.
a tax
It-
increase, aren't we working our way towards weaning ourselves from the .2?
We would hope we are, but our costs are going up at the same rate that our expenses are.
So if we don't have tax
revenues.
increase, we're actually going behind,
A
falling
little bit
behind.
behind, but we did cut almost probably what the tax increase will be from the operations budget this year. But then we also used some of that cut in our salaries.
Yeah.
So one year, a 3% tax increase is not going to make a difference one way or the other. And if you just give people a break for a year, give myself a break for a year. I do live in the city. Or we can go ahead and do the truth and taxation and have this discussion in August. And if we've got
Well,
4 of you,
I think our concern more is on the option 1 or 2. I think we're all set on no property tax increase, and now some of us are
And
saying
truth,
option 1, some are going for option 2. So
the truth is at the end of the year, of the end of 2026, it won't matter which way you went. Either the revenue will come in high on the .2, or we won't spend all of our budget, which we have never had the city spend 100% of their budget. There's usually at least $500,000 or $600,000 of $50 here, $100 here, a couple thousand there, all over people's budgets. So it will end up the same at the end of the year, whichever option you take. I just need to know what to put in the budget.
Brenda, remind us again, so the amount that would come out, say if you use the reserves, the amount that would come out with the increase and the money that we you saved, it's gonna be about 100 and something thousand? Is that
Well,
correct?
in maximum, so the max, if we have no property tax growth, I pull out the property tax increase, the maximum of reserves we would use is
The 600,
618,000.
but you have income.
If we have growth of 1, 2, or 3%, then it would be less.
But there was some amount you said that you had.
Oh, the point two, we lowered our operations
That's what,
by a couple 100,000, but we also increased our salaries by more than that.
okay. What would that put the percent at? Is-
25.9,
Okay,
something
that's
like
what I'm saying.
that.
It's almost
We're still at
26%
We're still
still.
at where the
That's
state
what
used
Paul
to.
wants, would rather take it out of reserves, right?
Yeah.
Rather than touch the point two.
I just don't understand the math of, we know prices are going up, we know everything is going up. Yet we're going to sit back and say, no tax increase, people. It's like, almost like it's almost like a token gift or a token step, when in reality, prices are going up. We are going to have to either tap into reserve or do some other options here. I'm just concerned about that we're just painting a unicorn that shouldn't be painted.
Same for our citizens. The prices are going up for them too, and
Correct.
we've increased fees and we've done so much to tax them in other ways.
I totally get that. I
So
understand
that's-
the increases. I just want to make sure that we're making the right move, that's all.
Yeah.
I'm not
well,
saying no, I just want to push back a little bit. I just want to feel better about this.
Paul, and I wouldn't ever agree to this if it was not just I don't even think it'll be 600,000. I think it'll be
No,
a
it's
couple hundred
it's going to be
thousand that
closer
we'll-
around to 4.
Yeah, we'll pull that out of reserves, but if this was like a few million, there's no way I would ever, because we've promised the
Me neither.
citizens that we won't do a 20, 30%, we'll do 5%. But I think just because of what you said, but it's up to you guys, but that's why I would support it, is because it's not taking hardly anything out of the reserves, so.
Thank
And it
you.
won't affect next year by nothing, this does not affect next year. If this had an effect where we're gonna build up, then I would agree, but this will have no effect on that. It's 400,000. If that affects us, we're in trouble.
Okay.
Right, and I'm fiscally very conservative, as everyone knows, and I wouldn't even consider it if, after speaking to Brenda, if I had any question or she had any question. So,
Thank you. Thank you.
anyway.
Appreciate that. Any more comments?
So I think we need to settle on an option then. If we're not doing a tax, are we option one? That's what Diane, or Councilmember Turner suggested, is that we're all comfortable as option one? Option one was using the point two instead of reserves. Option
Not
two is
using
using reserves.
If we have extra at the end of the year, it goes back into reserves, right?
Oh, yeah, everything goes back into reserves.
Why don't we just use reserves then?
Okay. That's the easiest for me.
Yeah.
Diane, are you all right with that? Or Councilmember Turner?
I know.
You're still going to sit
I
at
flipped on you.
25.6, you'll be
Sorry
fine.
Yeah.
You'll be fine. You'll be fine using reserves. And that just shows that we should have or could have needed a property tax increase, and we chose not to. So that's what you're showing when you show that you're using reserves.
And we'll go with option two.
Okay.
Okay, so I will get the growth numbers next week, and as soon as I know what the growth numbers are, I will adjust the library. We'll have growth, and that will go into their reserves. I will adjust this, the general fund, and there's a couple, or one item that I need to put on the addendum with the rental of the Murray Theater we're going to let the Miss Murray pageant use the Murray Theater for free for their presentation. It'll get a lot of people in there. So
All right.
I will add that to the addendum, and then I will let you know, and I'll send you a copy of the new budget and post it on the website when it's done.
Thank you. Appreciate that, Brenda. We encourage our citizens to go on the website and take a look at the budget and see how the money's being used.
Can we also talk about a date certain for the next meeting? Because the tentative budget included a tax increase. The notice that went out said we'll meet tonight and then sometime in August. So just need to just set a date, and I'll go ahead and do another public hearing notice anyway, but just set the date as June 17th.
June 17th is right?
June 17th?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. All right, that ends our public hearing section of the meeting tonight. To move on now to the business items. We're going to consider an ordinance amending section 2.66.020 of the Murray City Municipal Code relating to elections. And Brooke Smith has a wonderful, exciting presentation for us.
Everyone's favorite subject matter. We met at Committee of Whole on May 13th, it's a couple of weeks ago, so I just want to do a quick recap. There's 4 amendments we're requesting to make to our city election code. This is to align with our state standards, eliminate conflicting and competing codes with state versus city, and then enhancing transparency and creating a standard for all public notices to be issued. The state standard for public notices is a Class A, that's the minimum requirements, and they expect people to find information about their cities or what's happening with the cities at 3 places. One is the city website, the second one is the Utah Public Notice website, and the third one is the city bulletin board. So anyone in the state that is interested in knowing what's happening or in the world could go to one of those 3 places and find out what's going on. The first request that I'm suggesting we make is removing the outdated newspaper notice requirement when we publish publish information about the elections. This instead would say that it would be a Class A notice, so it would go to those 3 locations. The second one is adding more information in. The state has made a requirement that mandates that financial disclosures and conflict of interest be filed with candidates. Our code does not say that, so I'm recommending that we add that information into our code that says the city recorder may not accept a declaration of candidacy without the accompanying conflict of interest disclosure statement. The third one is just a simple correction, easy peasy. We have 2 number 5s. We're changing one of those to a number 6. And then the last one is the newspaper notification. After the candidacy ends this Friday, our code says that I have to publish it into a newspaper for 2 successive publications. Instead, we are matching what the state requirement is doing that Class A notice where we'll post it to the city website, Utah Public Notice website, and our bulletin board. So that is the 4 recommended requests, and I'm just opening it up for questions or sending it back to the council for discussion.
Any questions from the council?
No.
All right, wonderful. Then I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion on the ordinance amending section 2.66.020 of the Murray City Municipal Code relating,
Oh, sorry.
did you,
No, go ahead. He thought you were done.
relating to elections.
So point of order.
Yep.
Is it approval or?
Yep.
Approve or
Oh,
deny?
I approve.
Okay.
Make
Thank
a
you.
motion to approve, okay. A motion to approve has been made. I need a second.
I'll second.
Thank you, Brooke.
Ms. Cotter?
Aye.
Mr. Goodman?
Aye.
Ms. Turner?
Aye.
Mr. Hawk?
Aye.
Mr. Pickett?
Aye.
Thank you.
The motion passes. Thank you. Business item number 2 is a business item also related to policy, city council procedure and handbook updates. And Jennifer Kennedy has a presentation.
Hello. This is just an update to our handbook regarding the elections and council staff's interaction with the council during a municipal election. Basically, council staff should remain completely neutral during a municipal election. Council staff shall not engage in any election campaign-related activities while fulfilling our duties as a Murray City employee. So basically, anything campaign-related, we cannot help you with, we cannot discuss with you, we can't fundraise for you, any of that stuff while we're here working. And we also put a provision in there that a council member should not ask a member council staff for assistance, contributions, or other campaign support for their campaigns. So we're just asking to implement this and add it to your handbook.
Wonderful. Any questions or comments for Jennifer? All right, then I'll entertain a motion.
A motion to approve the resolution amending the Murray City Municipal Council guidelines and policy relating to municipal elections.
I second it.
Okay.
Ms. Cotter?
Aye.
Mr. Goodman?
Aye.
Ms. Turner?
Aye.
Mr. Hawk?
Aye.
Mr. Pickett?
Aye. All right, the motion passes then. And with that, Mayor, you're up.
Thank you. Just a real quick note, the Armory opening yesterday went phenomenal. Everything went great, except I was supposed to go like this for the cannon. But I will tell you, if you look at Kathy White, our chamber president, her video on Facebook, I was prepared. You look, right before it goes off, I look a little lost, and then all of a sudden I go like this, and it went off. And I said, see, I gave it with the Carol Burnett thing. So I knew what I was doing on that. Anyway, scared the heck out of me, to be honest with you. I was not prepared for that big noise. I hear that some of the residents were also a little surprised. But anyway, it was a wonderful event. Thank you to all that were involved. It was great. And thank you for all those that supported it and for your support as a council. All right, now I'm going to just do a little video. We're going to do a little video on our project, Navajo Nation, Light Up Navajo, where we went down in May last month and got the chance to really witness something very special with Light Up Navajo. And this video you're going to see real quick is a woman that got electricity for the first time. And let me tell you, it was pretty cool. We weren't here with her right here, but at the dinner she came up, and you'll have to watch her. But she probably expressed what everyone is wanting to express when they get electricity for the first time, especially when you've lived there for 40, 50, 60 years, or as in Chi did for 96 years. But so go ahead and let's start that video.
You're welcome. Yep. So happy for you.
Yes, I'm so happy too. Thank you guys. Where you guys came from, but you guys are awesome.
No, you're good. That's awesome. That's what it's all about right there.
Is that pretty cool? It kind of says it all. I'll just mention a few things. Light Up Navajo is a volunteer effort to bring electricity to homes in the Navajo Nation. The project started in 2019, and this year, in 2025, is Murray Power's fourth year of supporting the project. Murray Power is special for many reasons, one being that our power director, Greg Ballon, began his career as a journeyman here, lineman as well as a journeyman meter technician. Greg invited me to go down and see firsthand this event, and at first I was a little hesitant because it was quite a ways to go. And thank you, Greg. I'm grateful that that you pushed me on that, because that is something that you just can't talk about. You have to experience it. A big thank you to all the line workers and the crews that are doing their part. A big thank you to the City Council again for supporting this work. A big thank you to our Murray Power team who volunteered for long, hot days in remote areas to serve. I'm just going to name the four: Peyton Accord, Eric Bracewell, Crosby Mortimer, and Tyler Parkin. And you know what? These are some tough guys, and I'm telling you right now, they got emotional over this, and I was a little surprised, to be honest, with some of these guys, but it was a wonderful experience. It's hard to tell who's more blessed, the families receiving electricity for the first time, or the volunteers who return forever changed from being part of such a life-changing effort. In truth, we're all blessed when we lift each other up, and maybe the greatest blessing of all is the ability to share what we have with those in need. And a big thank you again, Erica, for getting us down there and doing your part with getting the news media and being. It was stressful. I could tell Erica was very stressed, because if someone doesn't show up, then it doesn't work like she had planned, and everything worked accordingly. So again, a big thank you for all those that were involved, all those that supported us financially. And I've heard a lot from our citizens when they saw the video clip that aired a few weeks ago. So thank you again for your support, and we're looking forward to doing it next year.
Thank you, Mayor.
What's the monument?
That is, Erica, I don't even, what is, I can't hear
Veteran Memorial.
you. Is that Monument Valley there? Okay.
Oh, that's just a side I haven't seen before. Yeah, no,
I
it's
know, we
amazing.
did, that's what I was thinking at first. I didn't say that, Erica, but yeah.
Right. Thank you, Mayor.
anything
Great
else?
report.
Thank you.
We'd like to hear that. And as a council, I think I speak for all of us, we're very happy to be part of this project and providing the funds for them to go down. I think it's a worthy cause that we'll continue to support. And with that, then,
Thank you.
I call this meeting adjourned.